All right, you guys, let's see. Hopefully it works. Welcome back to Christina's Garage Gearhead in Training. Today I'm going to attempt to change out the battery in my husband's car. Last night my husband, our friend Jeff, and I were heading over to the gym to work out. The dashboard started doing weird things and my husband decided, let's just continue on to the gym. Well, when we were done working out, the car wouldn't start and our friend Jeff thought that it might either be the battery or the alternator. We walked back home, they grabbed the jumper cables and headed back over there. We're able to restart the car and get it back home last night. But I'm going to try to take out the battery and take my husband to work, and on the way back from work, from dropping him off, I'm gonna pick up a battery and see if I can change it out. And luckily, Jeff will be available maybe later tonight to check my work to make sure that I did it right before we attempt to drive it. He says he's gonna check the alternator afterwards to see if it might be the alternator or maybe the battery. So we're gonna do a little bit of diagnostic testing to see if that works out. I've changed out a battery maybe once before. It's been a while and I haven't really gotten super comfortable. So Jeff was able to remind me that I want to do the negative, take off the negative first, because the way the power works is that the power comes through the positive and is grounded in the negative. So if I try to take the positive off first while the negative is still on and I mess with it in a weird way, it's possible that I can zap myself because the power is being drawn through the positive to the negative. But if I remove the negative first, then the power isn't going to be drawn through the positive. So right now I'm going to go grab some tools. I'm going to loosen this up to take this bracket off. Then I'm going to remove the negative and then remove the positive. When I put the new battery in, I put the positive on first and then the negative. I didn't look to see how cold it was. I have a wonky finger. I got bit by a dog a few years back, so the circulation in my pinky isn't that great. I can tell the temperature because it is frozen, it's turning purple. But anywho, I went and grabbed my little toolbox. I haven't transferred all of my tools over to my Craftsman toolbox yet, so I'm still kind of fiddling around with the big one. But I was able to find, this is, what is it? It is a 10 millimeter? It is a, yes. I was able to kind of just like test and see that the 10 millimeter fit this one. I'm gonna loosen up this top thing first, and then I will go into taking the negative and then positive off. One really cool thing, when I was at SEMA, when I was interviewing Corleone Forged, they gave me some shirts. That's what I'm wearing right now, because I didn't really think about the shirts I'd be wearing while working on cars, because I don't want to wear all of my favorite shirts while I'm working on cars because, it's just hand tight. It looks so cool with the wrench. Yes, with the wrench. Still learning all the names of everything. But anyway, I'm wearing a Corleone Forged shirt, which is really neat. So I don't have to stress about, all the birds are out. I don't have to stress as much about getting my shirts all dirty. All right, removing this, putting that off to the side. And let's see if this will fit, because it has one, nope, I think this is too big. Too big? Yes, too big. All right, switching to a smaller one. This is what, 3/8. So 3/8 is a fraction. This one is imperial. I'm still learning all this stuff. Nope, this one is still too big. But the fraction is imperial and SAE, and then the other one is metric. I need a wrench that's smaller. but this feels, I'm not gonna, like, this is a weird angle. I'm not gonna be able to get in there. That's the right size, but I'm not gonna be able to, I guess this is where all the wobbly and all those other types of, maybe trying this way, this one. So this is a 8mm. We're just experimenting here, you guys. Left, because that's righty-tighty. I want to switch it. Oh, my fingers are cold. It's hard for me to move. All right. So I feel like this is still too big. Too big. Yeah, that's really big. How? Oh, I'm such a dingus. But the thing is that the angle, or the battery, make sure I don't drop anything, because everybody talks about dropping things into the into the engine bay. All right. See, it doesn't. Oh, wait, lefty. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm trying to do lefty loosey. Aha. Okay. See, this is called gearhead in training for a reason. I'm not doing this saying I know what I'm doing. All right. It looks like there's a washer on the other side. All right, I think I loosened it up. Maybe I don't really want to do it with my fingers. I don't want to shock myself. That's one thing that like really scares me about doing all this stuff, is like electrocuting myself. Everybody's like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm like, okay. This is not going to be a fast process. I am not a professional. But I feel like a lot of people that would be watching a how do you change the battery video wouldn't really know what they're doing either. All right, I'm wondering if I will just be able to loosen it up, that I don't take the whole thing off. That maybe just by loosening it, nope, not loose enough yet. All right. Yeah, it's loosening up. It's hard if I have gloves on and doing all this other stuff. I really want to show you more with the, like, other angles with the camera. But it's kind of hard when I don't have a camera crew yet. We'll see what happens in the future. All right, let's see if that will come off. Cool. So that was able to loosen off. I'm gonna move that off to the side. And then now I'm gonna work on the positive. Hopefully it's the same size. Yeah, cool. I know that some cars, their batteries are kind of hidden behind stuff. So luckily, this one is pretty open. Okay, oops. Oh yeah, okay. Let's not drop it into the engine bay. Go very slow. As you can see, it's cold enough outside that my breath is a different color, or not a different color. It's that it's steamy. All right, now let's take this off. All right, so I got that off. Does it have a handle? It should have a handle. And I'm gonna put this off to the side. All right. Is there a handle somewhere? Or is it just sitting on there? Oh, geez, this thing's heavy. I wonder if I might have my husband lift it out. Because, like, with my back, I'm trying to lean up against the car, but this angle does not feel very good. I also don't want to shock myself. I don't think I will, since it's not on the actual battery anymore. Let's see if I can kind of tilt it up. I know that, like, as I said, some cars, their batteries are positioned in interesting places. I know my Dodge, it was like underneath stuff, and you had to take off the front panel. Ugh. All right, what I'm probably gonna do, well, my husband's gonna be in his work clothes. That's gonna be a little bit difficult. So let's see if I can finagle how to get it out of here without hurting myself. Because I thought it had a handle, but it doesn't. Ouch, pinching myself. It's like I don't really want to use anything to leverage it out. pinching fingers, pinching fingers. Okay, got the angle. All right, engaging my core. Jesus, this thing is heavy. Oh. All right, so I'm gonna load this up in the car. I guess it is an O'Reilly battery, and I think they have warranties on stuff. I don't know how many year warranties they have, but let's go see. I went by O'Reilly Auto Parts, and they did not allow filming in the store. That's why you obviously didn't see that interaction, but I took the battery in. He checked it. He said it wasn't a good battery. It was actually dead, and that we were thinking it was either the battery or the alternator. And hopefully once we get this battery into the car, I might be able to drive it to my husband's work before he gets off for lunch. The battery cost $189.99, and it came with a 2-year limited warranty. I paid a battery fee, and then I did a core exchange, which is interesting. There's core change, core exchange, so it kind of, I guess, evened itself out. So total, I also got some grease stuff that he mentioned, that we had some corrosiveness on the negative side. He said that if I put this product on top of it, it will prevent it from corroding later on. The total with all of that and tax, California tax, it was $210.56. And I did it all myself. Well, going to do it all myself. All right, let's pick this thing up. It is definitely heavy, but not as heavy right this moment when I'm putting it in. It feels the most heavy, I think, because it's further from my body. Ouch. Okay. All right, I set that in. I'm gonna take the cap off for the positive. One cool thing that the guy told me, let me backtrack. One of the things that I'm afraid of when working on cars is like electrocuting myself or hurting myself. Goodness, this thing is on tight. And he told me that the battery is 12 volts, and even if you shock yourself like in the house in one of those power socket things, it has more volts that come out of that than it does, oh, I'm such a dingus, than in this battery. He mentioned that, I'm grabbing the right things. He said that even, because I was telling him I was worried about, touching the positive and the negative and whatever. He said that even if I do get a little bit zapped, it wouldn't feel like much. But he said you essentially, oh, I have to take this one off too. That you need to touch both of these at the same time, or this metal piece that I'm going to be putting back into the center. He said if you're touching the positive with like a wrench or something and this, it's all about if you ground it. If you touch another metal piece where the positive charge will come through and be grounded through your hand. He said even if that was the case with this, it wouldn't be horribly bad. So that did make me feel a little bit better. I was kind of like, I'm worried about all this stuff. I'm new to all of it. I'm worried about hurting myself or, all of that. So I'm trying to encourage other people who might also be a little bit nervous about working on your own car or changing your own battery, worrying about electrocuting yourself. At least with this, he said it's not really that bad. Just be mindful of, like, don't touch both at the same time, or touch the positive and ground it with something else in terms of like the electrical current and whatnot. But I'm using the 8mm, and I'm going to tighten this up now. Oh wait, I need to turn it right, okay. Because I had it switched so that it was loosening it before. Honestly, as soon as I got into the car after leaving O'Reilly, I almost started crying, because like, this is an amazing feeling it's like, I don't want to touch it with my hand, even though he says it's not like bad, but I made it a little bit loose. Trying to tighten it. Anyway, trying to talk at the same time as doing all this is not, let's see, what if I just try it like that, maybe. Just don't drop it in the thing. I almost started crying because this is, for someone who doesn't know how to do this stuff, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling to know that, wow, like I am changing out a battery. Like I'm not, obviously Jeff helped us diagnose like what it was, but the fact that I was able to take the battery out, take it to the store, and that I'm actually, all right, that I'm actually able to put it back on myself, that's a really amazing feeling. And I know there's other people out there that like you don't want to be super dependent on everybody else, especially how expensive things are to take things to the shop. Being able to at least do the basics is such a great feeling. So I almost started crying out of like just pure happiness. And also like I know my dad would be super proud of me. Like it's one of those moments, I'm gonna try not to cry, but it's one of those moments that I really wanted to call my dad and let him know like, hey, this is what I did. So yes, I am crying, but it's a really cool feeling to be able to, oh my goodness, okay, maybe I have to take this part off to tighten this. I can't wait till I can get the grip mats so that I can just set it here and know that I'm not going to drop it into the thing. Oops. I pulled it up. Okay, tightening to the right. Tighten, tighten, tighten. But it's such an amazing feeling to be able to do this. I've never been able to do it before. And like the goal is to become more independent in terms of like knowing how to fix things. And obviously I'm still gonna need help for things, but being able to do more of it myself is such a great feeling. And I really wanted to share that with my dad. Unfortunately, I can't do that, but I can share it with you guys. So I am very proud of myself. And hopefully if anybody that, like I'm gonna, excuse me, I'm gonna title the video, how to change a battery on your car or something like that. And hopefully, you know, maybe this video might find somebody who also has never changed a battery or doesn't know car stuff. I think I'm gonna try to take this off to see if I tightened it enough. I don't know how mechanics do it. They have to have like 20 hands, right? I don't want to like over tighten it, but I also don't want it to not be tight enough. Because the thing is that this one looked like it went further down on here. I wonder if I need to like shift it so that it sits a little bit lower. Oops, try not to shift it. Okay, so loosen, right, loosey-goosey. Loosey-goosey. All right, now that I have the negative and the positive on, I'm going to try to be mindful of not grounding myself like the guy mentioned. It looks okay. I'm going to have Jeff look at it to make sure. Maybe I might take a picture of it and send it to him because he's working right now. Maybe I'll send a picture of it to him to see what he thinks before I decide to drive it to my husband's work. But yes, righty, tighty. All right, that one looks pretty good. The thing is that this doesn't look tight, but then again, I'll have to show you guys what it looks like afterwards. I'm not experienced enough to know yet, but I am super, super excited. All right, now to put the last little bit on here. Oh shoot, I can't. I'm assuming there's a way, like a direction. Obviously this one I remember had to go the flat part down. And then I'm gonna just put this one, I'm gonna try to do one at a time so I don't drop them into the engine bay. But tightening the battery down, and I'm gonna put that fluid or whatever, that coating on to hopefully help prevent corrosion. And I'm just gonna hand tighten these actually. Or okay, I'm gonna do just a little because it's like an actual car. Let's see. I want to make sure that right. Okay, I'm turning it to the right. I'm like righty tighty, lefty loosey, righty tighty, lefty loosey. All right. I don't want to over tighten it, because that was one thing John was telling me. You know, you don't necessarily want to gorilla tighten everything, because you can actually strip or make it worse. I don't want to do that. I just want to make sure that I do it right. I am a little bit more anxious because it's like obviously on a car that the Camaro I'm nervous about anyway, but my husband drives this car every day and I don't want to do the battery wrong and then he gets stranded or he blows up his car. So hopefully that feels pretty sturdy. The battery's not moving around. And the guy said, what is this called? It's called Battery Terminal Protector. Prevents corrosion. It says insulates battery posts, prevents corrosion, effective acid barrier. Directions. Ensure battery terminal posts and cables are cleaned and corrosion free, which I didn't necessarily wipe them, but because I changed the battery, it doesn't have as much on there. Apply coat of battery terminal protector to battery terminal posts and cables. He told me to put it literally right on the top and like touch it with my fingers. And he said I won't get shocked. I was like, I'm not going to electrocute myself, am I? So he said to put it on the top. So I guess I'll do half and half, I guess. It's like maybe I shouldn't lean on the car. Like if you lean on the car, does that ground you too? I don't know. I have all these questions. All right, so I need to put more on the right one. Alrighty. So it'd be nice to eventually graduate to a point where I can maybe have two cameras, so I can have one like facing down and then one where I can talk to you. Let me throw this away. Okay. Now he said just kind of wipe it around the whole thing. Then it will prevent it from corroding. I really hope this works. You know, people who've been doing this for a long time, it doesn't feel like a big deal. But like really, for people who have never done this before, have never been, like I'm more mechanically inclined than I am more like book smart stuff. But like it takes a lot when you haven't been doing this growing up, and like I'm not confident because I just don't have the same skills. I just haven't been doing it. So I know that the more that I do this, the more comfortable and confident I'm gonna get. All right, I'm gonna take off my gloves. I'm gonna reposition the camera so that maybe you can see me when I start it. Fingers crossed. All right, you guys, let's see. Hopefully it works. Ah! I'm very excited. I probably like exploded your ears with that. Oh my gosh. I seriously just did it. I'm gonna do like a pan over so you guys can see kind of like what it looks like. And then I'm gonna send a picture to Jeff. I will update you on if I'm actually able to drive it to his work. All right, we got some good and some bad news. Good news is that I successfully did change out the battery. Bad news is that the alternator isn't good. What I did after starting the car, I noticed that the battery light was still on, so I called my father-in-law. He said that some cars, because the computer, it will leave the battery light on until the computer recalibrates. He told me that you could either take it to AutoZone, or I went back to O'Reilly. They have the computer that you can put on the battery that sends a signal from the battery and like through all the things through here to let you know whether it's the starter, the battery, or the alternator. In the test, it said that the battery was good, which obviously we know because I just put on a new one, but it showed that the alternator wasn't working. What I did then was drive it back home. He suggested that I unplug the battery and then we figure out what we're gonna do with the alternator. On my husband's car, the alternator is way back underneath the engine. I'm gonna talk to our friend Jeff to see if maybe he might be able to show me how to change an alternator, or if he would suggest us taking it to the shop to get the alternator done there, because I'm assuming we're gonna have to put it up on something since it's underneath the engine. But right now, what I'm gonna do is try not to, it's like I still feel nervous, even though the guy, okay, negative off first. Even though the guy told me, oh, well, you're not going to get shocked, whatever, like, it doesn't change the fact that, you know, I don't want to get shocked, so I'm going to be cautious about it either way. Right, no, I have to change it, lefty-loosey, that's what it is, lefty-loosey, lefty, there we go. I was like, why wasn't it loosening up? I'm going to take this off, and then now it's all slippery because of the anti-corrosive stuff that I put on there. I wonder if I can, come on, if I can just slip it off. No, that's a good thing that it doesn't just slip off. I just gotta undo it a little bit more. Good morning. Undo this. I wonder if I should get one of those computer things that the guy had. That way I can test things. Perfect. All right, taking that off, moving that off to the side, and then this side. But yeah, you know, it was really interesting is that the alternator, I used to have a Dodge Avenger, a 2010 Dodge Avenger. I sold it, one, because it had over 200,000 miles. I drove a lot in that thing. I used it for commuting. But that car had a lot of issues with the alternator. I went through probably 6 alternators in the time that I had it. And I thought that was just really interesting. I've heard that Dodges in general have like maybe issues with the electronics. And we were thinking that maybe it was the wiring between the alternator and the battery and like other things, because I had several shops look at it and they couldn't really figure out what was going on, but the alternator kept going out. And we're hoping that that isn't the case with my husband's car, that, you know, we're having issues with the alternator to the point where we're going to need to sell it. But he mentioned he might have had issues with the alternator before. I can't remember, but this is the first time I remember having issues with his alternator. But anyway, I unplugged the battery, made sure everything is off on the car, and yeah, I hope I can give you guys an update next time. Otherwise, next week you're going to see me, I'm going to be at PRI. I'm very, very, very excited, very nervous, but this is the first time ever being around like a lot of racers, because PRI stands for Performance Racing Industry. I'm very excited. I'm going to be going with Richmond gear, Motive gear, and hopefully going to be meeting some new people. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week.